Okay, so here is the Phanteks, the Entho Evolve case here. It's kind of hard to tell because I got it all apart, but it is. And this does come with a basement. You can see the Phanteks logo there. And it has this basement plate, which you can unscrew. Got all this dust and stuff in here. Which you can unscrew to make room for your radiator. And you can see I got the crack in here, the NZXT. This is a 62 model. You could fit probably up to a 360 up here, maybe. I don't know for certain. But what I'm getting at with this video is a lot of people who probably have installed the radiator know that most of the time you have to unscrew the basement and slide the radiator down a little bit. But I didn't like that. I didn't like having the gap because you could see through the basement there, and I wanted to clean it up because I'm upgrading my fans in here. So since I'm doing that anyways, I basically have figured out that it will stay flush to the top there. And the way I did that was, see these two holes up here? I stuck a fan up there and screwed it down, and basically it made holes here and here that were perfect, because when it was screwed in up there, I just had to get my drill and start drilling in with my little drill bit here. This room's a mess because I'm trying to organize my office and get a new desk, so don't mind that. But yeah, I just started the drill, you know, with the fan in place, and I didn't puncture. I just started. I made a mark, you know, and then same thing with the bottom layer there. And the bottom layer is a little different because if you push down with the flooring in, if you push down on the radiator, you'll notice that there's a hole that's close to lining it up on one of them. I think it's these two. Yeah, these are close to lining up for the second fan, and you just have to push down on the radiator a little bit, not too crazy, but firmly, and the holes will line up, and you can screw those in, and then do the same thing down here. Start drilling holes, but don't puncture, and then take the fans off, move the radiator out of the way, and then drill the holes all the way through, and kind of clean them up a little bit. And after I drill them all the way through, let's see, where's my tools at? I can't find my tool. I wasn't really planning on making this video, but anyways, after that, I had a big, kind of a thick screwdriver, and because my drill bit that I had was a little small, so when I got it through, I kind of, you know, ringed it a little bit and got it smooth, but it still wasn't quite big enough for the screw. So I took a good sized Phillips, and I just kind of was digging into the hole there until it ground out enough to where it was nice enough for the screws to go through. So basically, you have to make 4 screw holes if you want to fit it like an NZXT crack in here. So a 280 rad. So you're gonna do 4, but 4 of them should already be set for you. You know, 2 for the bottom fan and 2 for the top. The top one should be fine. So 2 and 2, and then you just got to do the bottom 2 for the top fan and the bottom 2 for the bottom fan. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna go ahead and get these little new Corsair fans I got in here, and I'm gonna show you what it kind of looks like when you get it all screwed in and how tight it is and everything. All right, so you can see I got them in here. Got them all snug up there. Yeah, and then if you look, the basement is still in there. It just barely fits. But I'm gonna try to put a couple more up there and put the tray back and get the case all back together. But there it is. You can fit, and possibly if you're willing to cut your case up a little bit, a 360 in here, maybe. It's kind of a tough call there. I don't have one here to give you advice on that, but it definitely looks like you could squeeze a 360 on the top tray, at least pretty close to it. But you will have to modify it. because I did put these 140s, 3 of them, all the way down, and they overlap by about that much on both sides if you're squeezing them together. So you might be able to rig up something like that on the top if you wanted to try and do that. I'm not sure, but I definitely know that you can fit this 280 here. Wouldn't keep your basement closed off. It's just going to be a little extra work is all. This in here is just kind of like a fan update. So I got my push-pull here that I showed you guys earlier, the NZXT. These are, all my fans on my case are 140. Okay, so I fit those in and managed to keep the basement front and back. You can see the fan blades are spinning fine. Everything's good, no weird noises or anything. And I shoved the radiator to the tippy top there. And if you look, I shoved another 2 140s, and you're made to put the fans on down here, but it kind of obstructs the view, and I didn't want the fans taking the glory away from the motherboard. So I shoved them in between this gap here. See, I used a zip tie to kind of hold that. I'm going to clip this and keep that all the way because I'm all about the appearance on this, you know. It was kind of hard to get them in there. There's no screws holding them down. They're just sandwiched in there. But they're not making any noise, and they're running good. So basically what you have to do is when that tray's out, you have to hold the tray here. First you have to get your fans up here and hold them back here with the tray out of the way and decide if you want them pulling air out or pushing air down. I don't know which one is better. I'm just going to try pulling heat away and see how that does. I don't know. So after you pick which one you want, just flip them the right way and make sure that your power cords are routed to the back, you know, so you don't have anything weird looking after you go through all this trouble. And then I pinched them and held them up here together out of the way. And I grabbed the tray and I wedged the tray in, and you have to get both sides here because it's going to have to, the tray has to go slide through this bracket here on this side and on the back side. And when you get it kind of going in, you're going to get the tray to about here, okay? And it's going to just barely not be touching the fans. So you're going to have the tray in one hand and try to get both ends lined up. If you have help, it's better. And then your back hand over here holding these. And when your tray is just about to touch these fans and you've got it solid on both ends, you're going to have to come down and pull the tray down a little bit because it's flexible and get it to slide under the fans while holding the fans. And eventually it'll get to about here and you'll have some room because the fans will be kind of held and the pan will be lined, and you can kind of just wiggle it to the back there. And after you get it wiggled back there, you can slide these fans around. And I have them where they are because they don't make noise here. If this one I can scoot it wherever and it won't make noise, but this one, if I scoot it over here and try to make them both flush to the top, the blades will barely touch a part of metal down there and make some noise. So you can just flick them with your hands and make sure they're silent, and if they're not, adjust them till they are silent. And that'll be a way you can squeeze some more fans in your case if you got this Phanteks Entho Evolve case here. And you can see that they're not taking any of the glory away, but I'm still going to get some extra cooling. So I didn't like that they were covering my part of my RAM and part of my, you know, cable management and stuff, and I just wanted to see if I could do it, and it does work. If you want to do that, you can squeeze some more fans in here. So I don't have any 120s. These are all 140s. Every fan in here is 140. And next I'm going to decide, I might slide this fan up a little bit. I don't know if it'll look better or worse that way, or if I should just leave it flush. But that's just another thing you can do here. You can squeeze some more fans up there in the top and all that stuff. So even if you wanted to go crazy with it, I mean, you could leave these two up here, and then on top of that, have a radiator and more fans if you're really all about the extreme cooling and stuff and you don't care to block your board and all that. But you could probably maybe fit a 360 up here, maybe. But you're definitely gonna have to make some modifications. This is minimal modifications to get this radiator flush and still keep my basement shut. But yeah, so if any of you guys are wondering and what you can squeeze in here, I mean, here's a pretty decent idea of what's happening. I wanted to squeeze 3 of these 140s, but it's just not going to work very well because scooching up the radiator, you know, takes up space and all that stuff, and you're really stretching it. And you can add 3 up here, but here's what's going to be your problem. Your first problem is going to be your button here, your power button. The fan is just going to get in the way, and it's going to be basically trying to touch the button here. You're going to have to, you know, either loosen the screws and make it higher or something. But what's the biggest issue that's stopping you is the railing that holds the whole pan in. It's just too tall on both ends by just a smidge. So you would have to, you know, go through taking all kinds of stuff apart to either remove the rails or scooch them down or whatever, and I don't feel like doing all that, so I'm just going to deal with 2 and take what I got, and I'm pretty happy with it still. So yeah, that's the case, guys. And generally what I would recommend squeezing in there, I mean, I've already taken it kind of beyond, you know, what most people will, and I'm happy with it. I don't like stuff getting in the way of my board and my RAM and all that stuff, and you know, I'm not gonna go too RGB crazy, but what I do have in there I want to be able to see. So that's that, you guys. You know, I like the simple look with the black fans, but you know, I want my stuff to be able to be seen, so I got my green cables, and my RAM is green plasma RAM, so it's not even changeable, you know. And G-force is always green, and the board is set to green. I just don't want too many lights in there. But the stuff I do have, I want to be able to see it, you know. So I'm going to get my case together so it looks all purty again. Update here. Sorry for all the updates. I keep blabbering and cutting it off, and I keep finding new stuff as I'm putting it together. But it's stuff that would be useful for anybody who's going to do this. So when you go to put the tray back in, you have 5 screws. You have 3 in the back and 2 in the front. So here, this one went in just fine. Now the 3 on the back went in, but since, you know, you force those bigger fans in, you have 1 here, 1 in the middle there, and 1 over here. And what you have to do is you have to basically reach your arm around the case and push up on it, because these holes won't line up a little bit. You know, you got to help guide it there. So you got to 1-arm it. This one wasn't too bad, and the far left one wasn't too bad. The center one was the hardest one to get in there, because I had to kind of adjust my arm a couple different times till I find the right spot and get it. And I was able to do it by myself, but it would be a lot easier if I had a little extra help. But now I got my extra fans and everything's out of the way. I can see everything. It looks great. So I'm going to finish putting the case back together, and I'll give you a glimpse of that too. Might as well. Be sure to put your lid on after you get your grill on, your little filter on. Filter and then the lid, because I actually popped the face on first, and you need that out of the way to get the 2 front screws in, and there's also 2 in the back. So we got the lid, the face, and the other side there, the back side of it. Put on. I still have the main window side open here. Computer running. You can see my fans up there. Doing just fine. All the fans are doing just fine. I'm not going to open that, but those are in there doing just good too. So now I'm going to get the window back on, and probably going to Windex the whole case there. Show you all that. So there it is in all its glory with the little fan upgrade I did. So now Got those in there. Everything's running smooth, quiet. And that's just an idea of what you can cram in this case. If you're willing to put in the work, you can cram a lot in here. So, you know, there it is. If you're curious, you really like this case, and you want to know how far you think you can stretch it as far as fitment, you can fit a lot in here if you're willing to be annoyed for a couple of hours doing it. But I don't mind. I like doing stuff like that. So there's the overview there. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of this. Maybe you figured out what your scenario is, but maybe you figured it out after watching this. You know, decided, hey, I don't want to do that, or maybe I don't mind, or whatever. And that's that. So I'm happy with it. It's nice and quiet. And my CPU is running about 4 degrees cooler now because I changed the regular Phanteks fans to those Corsair ML 140s. And these NZXTs are really nice because they top out, the CMF tops out at 97, and the CMF on the Corsairs tops out at 100. So they're pretty close in power. I do have an extra Corsair. If I want, I could go buy another one and make them all 4 Corsairs, but that just seems like a waste of money to me. So, because the specs are the same. But yeah, so that's that. Hopefully you got something out of here, and have a good one, guys.